Good evening, everyone. I'm Rhonda Williams, and I am your president of the club for this year, 2025. And this evening, we will have a swearing-in ceremony that will be brief, so you'll be able to meet all the new officers for this year. We're going to have a slight change up in the program. The programs are on your table, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But right now, to get started, I'd like us to start off, as we traditionally do, with a prayer and a pledge. So, Larry Harvey.
If you'll bow your heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. And Father, we thank you for this club, and we thank you for the Republicans. And Father, we just ask that you watch over our meeting tonight. Give us words to say and not to say. And let us be mindful, Father, of our position. And Father, we just thank you for all the good things that you do. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Second daughter.
Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So tonight, thank you for coming out in the frigid weather. I'm with, somebody told me, I think it was Rusty, if it's below 70, it's in the freezing zone for her. So I think all of us agree with that. So thank you for coming out in the cold this evening. We do have three dignitaries in the room. We have Larry Harvey and Leota Wilkinson, two of our county commissioners. Thank you for being here. And we have Charles Ovrturf, our Supervisor of Elections. Charles? And if we have, I believe we have some veterans in the room. If you're a veteran, please raise your hand, please, so we can recognize you. Thank you so very much for your service. We are going to move along rather quickly. I don't think do we have any new members here? I don't think so. Or any new, anyone here for the first time tonight? I don't know. You're here for the first time tonight. Welcome. Thank you, sir, for being here. We are going to move right into our installation of officers. And so I'm going to ask that Miss Candy Enzor come forward.
Good evening. I love it when I get to do this. May I please have the elected officers come up here for installation? That's Savannah Williams, Barb Altman, Buddy Goddard, Rhonda Williams, and Leota Wilkinson. Okay. Yes, please. That's too confusing. I can't keep up with that. Okay, if you'll step forward when I give your office a name, please. You have been elected to a position of trust and responsibility. I know you appreciate the honor that has been conferred upon you. You have demonstrated your leadership and devotion to the club. By your election, the club has express their confidence in your ability to lead them in placing in your hands the administration of our club. Secretary, Savannah Williams. No. Okay, the secretary shall be the recording officer of the club, including meetings of the club and the executive board. Lucky you. And shall keep a record of all the minutes of all such meetings, making those minutes available to the general membership. Thank you. You can stay. Treasurer, Barb Altman. The treasurer shall collect all funds paid to the club or any of its committees, receipt accordingly, and deposit same in accounts as designated by the club. The treasurer shall be responsible for making all expenditures authorized by the club. The treasurer shall give a report at each regular board meeting of the club regarding receipts, expenditures, and the financial status of the club. Thank you, Bob. Vice President, Buddy Goddard. The Vice President shall assist the President in supervising the activities of the club and preside at all meetings in the absence of our President. Thank you. President Rooker Williams. That means David Enser's no longer the President. Though I know he'll stay involved with you. Okay, the President shall preside over all meetings of the club and its executive board and exercise general supervision over all activities of the club. The President shall have the power to appoint all committee chairmen. Thank you. Board member at large, Leota Wilkinson. When the past president isn't available to serve on the board of the current club board, it is at liberty to elect a member to fill in the 5th board seat as board member at large. They are tasked with working with other board members in guiding and directing the operations of the club. Thank you, Leota. Your oath. If you will respond affirmatively after I read it. Do you hereby solemnly promise, on your honor as a Republican, that you will carry out the duties of the office to which you have been elected to the best of your ability, in loyalty to your club? We know that's how important that is after the last couple of weeks. And in harmony with the bylaws of your club and the Republican Party, so help you God. Thank you. I am happy to declare you duly installed to your new officers of our club. Okay, now it's time to install. To install each of us as members of this club, so if you'll all stand briefly, I will read what your membership responsibilities are, and then we'll do our oath. Thank you. Membership responsibility is to support the objectives of the club, attract members into and involve them in the Republican Party, and subsequently provide them with a practical means of Republican Party participation. Leadership training, political involvement at all levels of government. And that's really, really important because it's a non-election year, but we have to support the Republicans. To support the principles, objectives, and platform of the Republican Party and the Putnam Republican Club, to help secure the election of all duly nominated Republican candidates in the general election and registered Republicans in nonpartisan elections. Our oath. Do you hereby solemnly promise on your honor as a Republican that you will support the the Putnam Republican Club to the best of your ability, in loyalty to your club, and in harmony with the bylaws of your club, the Republican Party, so help you God? I am happy to declare you duly installed as a member of the Putnam Republican Club. Go club. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy, so very much. We appreciate it. Now I would like to ask David Enzor, Yoma Gohue, Bob Emery, where did Bob go? And Ann Crawford to come forward. So as members of the club, we appreciate having you all here. The hard work is done behind the scenes. It's done via emails. It's done on the phone. It's done at executive meetings. And it really is a lot of hard work to keep things moving forward. And so we've had a great team this past year, and so I wanted to recognize them. And I want to start with Bob Emery. Bob, thank you for your outstanding performance and your valuable contribution to the club as treasurer this past year, 2024. Thank you. Anne is probably the best secretary I've ever known in any club. She was amazing, and actually for a number of years, not just 1 year or 2 years, but 3 years. And so I want to thank Anne so very much for having served as secretary. She is amazing. She's going to be a hard act to follow, and very organized, and we could not have done it without her. Thank you, Anne. Yoma. So Yoma Goodhue is our vice president. Amazing champion, amazing representative for the club, going to other clubs or other REC meetings, going out finding us guest speakers. As our guest speaker in November was probably the highlight of the last year. And Yoma served as our vice president from like Anne from 2021 to 2024, and she is so greatly appreciated, and we want to just thank you, Yoma, for all you did. David Enzor. This man has been a mentor to me. I'm gonna cry. He's been the rock of this club. He has held this club together. He has moved us forward. He has educated us. He's the driving force behind almost everything. You get your emails, they're from David. You get your newsletter, it's been David. Now he has some help, thank the Lord, from Bob. He puts reports together. He comes up with funny things for us to share with us. And he's done it again and again. Let me just give you an idea. This club, we're now are 10 years old. David has been president 4 of those 10 years. 4. I've been president 2. There's 6. Julianne Young was president for 1 of those years, so that's 7. So you have presidents serving 7 of the 10 years of this club in this room tonight. So it's really a tough job. David has done it with grace and with dignity and with just always being a gentleman. And I just can't say enough good things about you. We're not letting you go. He said, I can't serve on the board again. And I said, we understand, but he's still doing the newsletter. He's still doing, what else? Membership stuff. He's still doing a lot of things, but we don't want him to step away from us. So please, David, for your 4-term presidency, we want to thank you so very much. Thank you guys so much. All right. That's it. What we're going to do.
So we're having a slight change, and we're going to have this guy, Larry Harvey. Give him a good, he has done more. You can't believe the things he's been doing. I like to give him a hard time, but he's really awesome, and he has been really superior here lately. Here lately, this week.
I'm superior a lot, but not just this week. Just want to give you a brief update. Some of y'all have heard about the, and I'm going to try to do this in a very positive light, although it's a very, I know, but we're going to try to take the high road. Back many years ago, a lot of us were trying to get into the Republican Executive Committee in this county. And when we would show up, the meeting was canceled, or it wasn't an official meeting, or you didn't attend your meeting quoted and you didn't know what that really was. And we just had a really mess. So we decided, a bunch of us did, that back before the primary that we would be precinct committee men and women. So we went out and we recruited and we got people signed up. Some of us had to be on the ballot. Some of us had to run in our district. And Charles could explain that later if you want, but in your precinct, some of us had to run. For example, I had to run. And so we won. A lot of us won. There was like 50 people or some odd people that either didn't run or were automatically on the precinct. So we were able to have those people attend a meeting. The REC called a meeting on December 20th. Okay, it was on a Friday evening at St. James Methodist Church. We showed up and we were not allowed into the room, period. We had the RPOF, the Republican Party of Florida, executive director on the phone telling the powers to be to let us in the room, and they refused to let us in the room. We were actually told after that things were getting very hot and heavy and heated for those of you that were outside and saw that. Some of y'all were allowed in the room and followed the same directions that we all followed. But for the most part, most of us weren't allowed in the room. And the election was held, and a gentleman named Tom Williams, who was the chairman before, won the presidency. Well, he wasn't allowed to be in the room because I beat Tom on the ballot box. So I filed a grievance with the RPOF, and they nullified the elections that happened on December 20th. Now they sent, thank you. So they sent Mr. Rawls a letter telling him that he has to call for another meeting, and he has until February 21st to make this happen. And the RPOF representatives will be there. They will get the list of precinct committee men that was provided to them, but I'm sure they'll get it through the proper channels. And they will have an election. I don't know if Mr. Rawls will call a meeting by February 21st. We'll see if that happens. But he's pretty much washed his hands of the Republican Party, well, the Republican leadership at the RPOF. So I don't want to belabor that. It might still be going for the party. But that's what's going to happen. Today I sent an email to Mr. Power and to Mr. Helmick, basically saying you're throwing gas on the fire. And you're going to expect all of us to go down there again. It was very heated conversations the last time. Even my wife was in the front, which you know Linda doesn't fight with anybody, and she was kind of animated. But there was a few gentlemen that I was concerned that were going to pull people out. And I can tell you that they're more than capable of doing that. And so the best thing we could do that night was to leave. So I said today in my letter, you're just throwing gas on the fire. This is going to be a bad situation. We're all going to walk in there very high-strung, and we're going to be on the defensive, and we're going to be protective of our spouses, and I can tell you that's going to happen. So right now, I'll just say that we just need to pray that things go well. We have enough votes to take over the REC when we're allowed in the room. And let's be honest here, and Randy Fine said it, and I'm not endorsing that, I'm just saying, Randy Fine said this in Tampa to us. Let's make the REC boring again. Well, I'm not so sure we need to be boring again, because I always found him fascinated under the prior leadership, but I understand where he's coming from, because there's been a splinter of the Republican Party, and it's done us no good whatsoever. And it's time for us to get back to the REC doing the job that the REC and the precinct committee women men and women need to be doing, and that's filling those slots. If you look at our past election, around 4,000 Republicans who were registered to vote didn't vote. They stayed home in the last election. Why? That's what we need to find out. So we need to have an REC that's functioning at a high level, supporting our clubs, not working against and being part of. So I will keep you informed, as I've been keeping you informed of what's going on. Right now, our date is February 21st. So if something doesn't happen during that time, then I guess the RPOF will step in. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed on what's going on, and I hope I did it well. So thank you. Thank you, Rhonda, for letting me do that.
We had Larry step up because he needs to leave a little early tonight, but Larry has been keeping the 52 people who were officially made part of the REC, but then rejected. He's been keeping them up to date via an email that has been going out to that group, so that group stays up to date on what's happening. So know that one of the concerns that we had, which is why we went forward with getting people to join in or becoming a part of the REC, is that Florida law states that the number of REC members you're to have in a county, and it's based off the number of precincts you have and the number of voting member people within that precinct. And so in this county, the number might be off 138. I think 138 is the number that we're supposed to have. And for at least 5 or 6 years, we've only had between 30 and 40. The other seats were not being filled, and they didn't want to fill them. So our goal, and I'm not a member of the REC any longer, I stepped down from the REC, but the goal has been to get all the seats filled, and when you do that, then you get a representative of every precinct. So you have a diverse group of Republicans working together in tandem so that you can do it for the greater good and not have one splinter group. But if you don't mind, if you are someone who is part of that group, would you mind raising your hand so that people in this room can see who you are and the people? So thank you. So we've got Candy, David, Bob, we got Earl, Ann, Juana, Ray, Yoma, Rusty, Buddy, Larry. So that's just the people in this room that are trying to become members of the REC or renew their membership. I think Barb Altman. So you've got people who were members of the REC: Barb, Yoma, Ray, Juana, Ann, and they've been now determined. It was determined that they no longer can be a member. So, but it's not valid, and that's why Larry filed the grievance to say, this has not been done in accordance with RPOF rules. I believe the RPOF has agreed with them, with Larry, and that's why they've nullified and will be calling in the group back in. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed. So here's Mr. Scolepi. Mike, will you want to come up here and talk for a minute? We just gave sort of an update. Mike Scolepi is our state committee man, and he's also a member of the club, and so it's only right that we give him also an opportunity to talk, and let's talk about how we're going to move forward collectively as a good Republican Party.
I apologize for being late. I did come straight from work, so I also apologize for my look. So, as far as the grievance goes, the meeting was determined to be null and void because the person that won the election is not a member of the REC. That is as far as we've gotten with it. The RPOF is still trying to determine who is the appropriate members of the REC, who's not. We are meeting tomorrow and Saturday for the state affiliated meeting. Hopefully, we can come to some conclusion. We will know before the 22nd of January who is a member, who is not a member, because the meeting to elect the new officers is to be done between the 22nd of January and 21st of February. So the membership is still in question. That has not been resolved. The meeting was nullified from December 20th. If there's any questions or anything else I can direct you on, please ask. No? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So stay tuned, part 2 or part 22, whatever it is, coming up. So thank you so much. Larry, I appreciate it. You have to run?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you, sir. Buddy, I'm going to turn the program over to you.
Hi, thank you very much. We're going to have Julianne going to give us this time I hope she does a short synopsis. You're going to have to listen fast. She moves fast. I had the pleasure of working with her as a commissioner. She's very efficient, but she does move fast. So you'll have to listen quick. After she does this, where hopefully Charles is going to come up and Charles will fill us in what's going on, because we have a special election. I hope everyone's aware of it, but we do have a special election coming up. And just as a brief tie-in, yes, the REC, and we're having a few problems here. The Republican Party is still the best thing out there. We don't always agree, and that's just the way life goes. Oddly enough, Shondell doesn't agree with me sometimes. It's weird, but it's true. That's okay. We have a common goal, and that is to put good candidates up here and get our country going in the right direction. So that's what we're all trying to do. Julianne?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me tonight. And pre-warning, Buddy told me he wanted me to tell you guys everything we did last year and everything we're doing this year. So fast was not in the definition there. But thank you for having me. Most of you know me. I'm Julianne, born and raised here. My husband George and I, who we will celebrate our 15th anniversary next week. If you see him, you might remind him. All jokes aside, he's never once forgotten. I may have forgotten an anniversary, but he has never once forgotten. So, and we have 3 children. This is my home. It has always been my home, and we are raising our family here. And my job every day is working in a place that we call home, and that we're raising our kids, and that's what wakes me up every single day. So I do project reports quarterly, but they are very fast, and at the end of them, I've said a lot of words, but I'm not sure much has been received. So I broke down a couple of most of our important projects that happened over the last year, and I'm just going to take you quickly through them. Then if you want the project update, it's on our website, or if you want more information about what we've got going on, happy to tell you. I can honestly say I'm most excited about this year that we're going into. We've got a great commission. We have 3 new elected commissioners, along with our veteran chair, Wilkinson, who's also serving for you as well, and vice chair, Larry Harvey, who just left. But they all have a passion and a heart, a true heart for this community, and that's most important. We're going to disagree, all of us, but we're all there for the right reasons, and it's a wonderful, wonderful time. So first project up that we've heard a lot about is Port Putnam. For many, many years, we lost our port, and it is now back. We're working to revitalize it so that it can begin accepting imports and exports of cargo ships. But in the meantime, we're setting it up, and so Port Putnam is going to be an economic driver. It's intermodal. It has train spur running through it that we own. It has access to Highway 17, and it has access to the river. And when the Shands Bridge raises, we now have removed the limitations for cargo ships to bring goods into our community and to stimulate that business community that we lost a long time ago. Last year, we got several grants related to the port and moved steps forward, but the most important one last year that we got was $1.2 million that It's going to allow us to rebuild that bulkhead that has been deemed deficient for so long. So we're going to put $1.2 million out there to refurbish it and get it ready for those cargo ships that will be coming our way. Next, another really exciting one for me is our new animal control facility is nearing completion. We expect to open it in the first quarter of this year. It's got 2 beautiful kennel spaces that's going to hold up to 88 canine spaces. Now that doesn't mean just 88 canines can be in there, because we've built the kennels a little bit larger. So if you've got a family or a unit that's packed together and normally together, they can all be housed there. As well as a cat sanctuary, and most important to our staff who's been lacking this resource, 2,500 square foot of office space in the adoption area. So you can come in, if you're looking for an adoption, you can spend some time getting to know the animal and making sure it's right for your family and a great fit. We're gonna have play yards and play kennels, and we just recently launched a foster program. So if you're on the fence and you're not sure, we've got the program for you, because you can come in and see how that animal it interacts with you and your family and its environment. I'm really excited about what Animal Services is going to be able to do over the next year with these added resources. We also are going to be located adjacent to the jail. Didn't sound exciting at first, but let me tell you what that means to us. We're going to be able to work with the jail to help inmates come over and help care for our animals. And it does 2 things. It helps our animals receive better care, but it also helps our inmates have true job training. They've got a responsibility to come care for that animal. So over the last year, we've piloted a program, and it's been fantastic. When we've had the right situation, we've pulled a dog from our kennel and we've placed it inside the jail in one of the recovery pods around inmates who will be soon being released. 100% of those dogs have been adopted by an inmate that gets released. And on day 1, that inmate who's going out into an environment that's very scary has an instant companion that's been with them for a little while and helps them reintegrate into life outside of the prison or the jail. It's been a fantastic program, and we're excited about more pilot programs. 100% of our dogs that have been in this program and our inmates that have signed up for it took that dog and now have a forever friend. So really exciting process that we've got going on. A lot of avenues. We do adoption events in our county and out of our county every weekend, and just really pushing our care of our animals. The next one that I'm also really excited about, I told you guys I was really excited. I'm not sure there's not one on here I'm going to tell you I'm not really excited about, but let me tell you, this one's huge. Not just huge for the county, but huge for our community. Putnam County, in one of our initiatives to curb our insurance claim funds, we partnered with People One Healthcare. And by partnering with them, the goal is to remove the barriers to healthcare that most of us see and that our employees and our community is seeing. So People One Health Clinic, it opened in July. It's a subscription-based program, meaning you pay a flat fee for your health care and you have unlimited access to advanced primary care. That means I can meet with a doctor 22 times this month, or I can meet with them 1, and it doesn't change the amount of money that comes out of my pocket. We opened it up to local businesses and even individuals who are also seeking some of these services for their employees. We have already seen great return on this. We've had a number of success stories of people who just said, I'm young, I'm 40, I'm 45, I haven't ever made time to go to the doctor, but I went, and here's what I learned. One came back, and I'm not sharing names, but we're working on testimonials as they're ready. 45-year-old young man who was in stellar shape. He's active, he's fit, he runs. He went and they said, hey, do a quick cardiac scan. They called him back the next day and they said, you're within 5 years of a major heart attack. And he said, what? I don't take any medication. I'm perfect. And they said, you might be, but your genetics tell us you're not going to be perfect within 5 years. We've had 3 cancer catches before it gets to a stage that it's too hard to treat. And so it's a wonderful program, and it's changed. The focus is on wellness, a holistic approach to wellness. It's not stuck in the medical system that we all know is broken, which is stuck in insurance copays and medical testing and how much more we can bill for another exam. Their incentive, the clinic's incentive, is to get you well and to do it as efficiently as possible, because they're not getting any more money if they send you 10 more times than if they saw you once. So we've seen great services. The services there include unlimited primary care. Your first meeting will be 60 minutes with a doctor. My husband went for the first time, and he said, I've never seen a doctor for that long. I'm not sure I have that much to talk to anyone about. But it's focused care, and they want to know everything, right? It's a holistic approach to what's happening. It includes your lab work, your imaging, physical therapy, some durable medical equipment. So everything, all of those barriers, all of those things that restrict most of us and most of the people in our community from getting the wellness that they deserve is removed. And what we have seen is really exciting. We're going to continue to expand that program, continue to expand it to the community, to businesses and to individuals, private providers who would just like to have that medical resource in their pocket. Another exciting venture we got over this last year was we received $500,000 in a grant to expand the Melrose Library. So it's going to allow us to do about a 1,500 square foot expansion there, where they're going to utilize that space for large lectures and different community events. Out in Melrose, it's going to change that dynamic greatly. A few years ago, we were able to do a small enhancement where we added the Camellia Room, and they added programs focused on STEM and makerspace and that type of thing. And this is just going to give them another resource out in Melrose to expand what they're able to do in the library system. Parks and Recreation had a great year. We received multiple grants and funding sources. We also received a lot of partnership with our community, and without our community, it would be very difficult to do what we've accomplished. A community member donated us a parcel with the stipulation of it becoming a park, and we now have the Beat and Ball Park in East Palatka, complete with a playground, a picnic table, and a shade structure. Through a FERDAP grant, which is a recreation grant, it had $0 out of pocket for the county. We were able to refurbish the East Palatka basketball courts and put in a gym or fitness, kind of a all-in-one inclusive equipment out there, as well as shade structures and picnic tables for that community. John Theobald Sports Complex, which is what we call the Triangle Field, through some ARPA funding, it was able to do its field refurbishments, including LED lights and turf, as well as realigning bases and getting the soccer fields level. The Johnson Park out in Johnson refurbished its basketball courts and added LED lights, as well as a new swing set and some other play features. Barden Community Park received a new swing set, and a shade sail is on its way to cover the playground area. The Boston Community Park is authorized for a new shade sail. Last year in Parks and Recreation, we had 600 participants, kids from 4 to 12, who played just soccer for us. That doesn't count volleyball, it doesn't count baseball and softball. Our Palatka baseball softball numbers was over 300. So the amount of children and youth that we're serving on a daily basis is staggering. Our Parks and Recreation, the county pool, is the only location in the entire county that has a public access to water. It's the only location in the county that offers Red Cross swim lessons. We were at capacity this year. There was not another single slot that we could teach swim lessons to a child. And in our community, with so much water, it's so important that they begin to learn water safety. And we have levels of Red Cross swim lessons. So you start at a very young age just teaching them about water safety, and then of course all the way up through lap swim and the different types of strokes that would allow them to be part of the swim team. This year, another really exciting thing, we had multiple partners actually, who subsidized the cost of those swim lessons. So the participants only ended up having to pay about $10, which allowed us to see multiple children from the same family being able to afford those swim lessons. That hopefully saves their lives at some point in the future. Boat ramp projects, we have an exciting one going on at Pico Road. We've demolished the existing docks and we're going to install some floating docks. That area has a great variation in its tide, and when that happens with those static docks, we received a lot of damage to the docks. A lot of times they were not being utilized because the water was above the dock, Boaters couldn't really see where they were going unless they were really familiar with the area. So the floating docks are going to allow us more utilization and safer use of that area. We also were able to secure Dunn's Creek, a parcel in Dunn's Creek that's going to allow or has a conceptual plan approved for a 2-lane launch as well as multiple parking spots. And Georgetown conceptual plan was also approved, which would be a single-lane boat ramp with a soft launch beside it for kayaks, canoes, and that types of things. Our public safety division, this would include your sheriff's office, your fire rescue, all your municipality groups. We completed our radio system upgrade, which is roughly about an $8 million project, and took us from a 700-800 system to a digital P25 system. That doesn't mean a lot to you. It didn't mean anything to me in the beginning. Here's what I can tell you it did do. In our county, there were multiple areas where officers couldn't talk to each other, or firemen and rescue personnel couldn't talk to each other. So when they needed help for you or for themselves, there was nothing coming through the radio for them. And in their lifeline is the radio. And so that was very dangerous conditions for them and for us. And so today with a digital system, we have 96% coverage countywide. And that is a wonderful, wonderful enhancement to all of our first responders and our public safety sector. We also received our ISO ratings. So a long time ago, we had individual ISO ratings, and that's the rating of how good your fire service is essentially for your insurance purposes, right? The higher the number, the worse your rating. Each different enclave of our community had its own rating. So I might be at a 3 and David might be at a 10 because we lived in different parts of the county. But this year we unified the county, all encompasses. And so we had sectors of the county that were at a 9, and now everyone is at a 5x, which is going to do great things for your insurance rates, not to mention demonstrate the ability for us to well cover the area with fire services. We had a project, I'm not sure if you've heard about it, we repaved St. John's Avenue. Okay, I know. It was a long and tedious process, y'all, and I get it. It's hard to see all of the things that don't happen because they happen underneath, right? And so a huge amount of time was stuck in moving infrastructure, city water mains, gas mains, all of that. Many years ago when they developed the road, they put them right underneath the road. And that made a lot of sense way back when. But as we all know today, every time that pipe bust, we tore up the road to fix it. And then what we all ended up with was this down St. John's Avenue. And so while I know it was time consuming and tedious for everybody to patiently wait on that road to be repaved, we've gotten all the infrastructure moved, the city did. That was a partnership with the city and the county. And now St. John's Avenue is paved. We're completing it and near completion. And we also finished the drainage project out here, which was close to a $10 million federal project. If many of you were around our area when Irma came through, there was devastating flood that posed real and imminent danger to the community out there. With this drainage enhancement, that will be relieved. It will be mitigated. That community will not see the danger or the devastation from those floodwaters again, which is wonderful. We have 3 other smaller drainage projects that are in various stages of completion. All 3 of them came from appropriations from the state. East Palatka is in phase 4, working through a process to kind of help some drainage over there in the farm area. North Putnam and Bostwick is in design phase. And then we have a South Putnam project out near River Park, if you're familiar. Again, all areas where we're trying to mitigate dangerous flood waters from impacting citizens' property and from degrading county infrastructure. So last but not least, and then I'm going to stop with my exciting news, you'll have to wait to the next update. Our water system had numerous projects. We received a 5-year award from the Army Corps of Engineers, which over the course of the 5 years will include an expansion and service of 19 miles of water lines. It's roughly about $30 million in funding. And that's just one piece of what we received last year as far as our water goes. We also received a grant ARPA dollars to extend down to San Mateo and Port Buena Vista, as well as East River Road. So none of this is possible without the diligent work of the team at the county, and it is by far the best it's ever been. I've been there for 6 years now, but we work together, and we couldn't do this without the funding partners of our state and federal partners, or without our board of county commissioners, who has been so supportive of staff and our initiatives to push forward. So thank you for having me. I'm excited about this year and excited about what we've got coming up.
Charles? Yeah, like I said, I did get to work with her. She does a dynamic job there. She doesn't take enough credit for it because she's kind of behind the scenes there, but she does. Most of this happens because she pushes the right paper in the right places.
Thank you. Thank you, Julianne, for all you and Ms. Leo to do. As somebody said, this is not election year, but boy, they didn't tell us that. Let me tell you why we're where we are. As most of us know, of course, it was a wonderful night on November the 5th and November the 6th and every day since then. But we had an election and we elected our congressman back who lives down more toward Volusia County, Mike Waltz. Well then, our president-elect, in a few more days, decided that he wanted Mike to come and to be a part of his administration. And so he has named him the National Security Advisor, which is a really high position. And so Mike has resigned his position. And of course, because of that, there is going to be an election. We're not the only one in the state that is. There's only about 10 counties that are going to have an election. The other was because of Matt Gates in the Panhandle, and he also was named to a position, so he resigned his position. And then, of course, due to circumstances, he's now resigned and not going to be a part of that, but they're going to have an election in the Panhandle for about 4 or 5 counties. Our election is for the 6 counties that we've got here. Putnam, because we are totally in that district. Flagler is totally in that district. You go to about St. Augustine city limits and you go south, so they're a part of that. You go to Volusia and a part of theirs from about the Speedway and all west to where DeLand is. Then it also includes from about Silver Springs back towards us in Marion County, and then a small part of Lake County. So that is what Congressional 6 is. So we are going to have an election. The governor sped ours up because they had set the election for the Panhandle, but we thought we'd get a couple extra months, but they didn't do that. So we are going to have an election for that congressional district to replace Mike Waltz, and that is on January the 28th. So it's coming up just in about 3 weeks. Early voting will start, and we'll have to do the minimum. So again, we're going to treat this just like a regular election. And that is, so we'll start on the 18th of January and go through the 25th. So it's a Saturday through Saturday. That is the 8 days that we're required to have it. So please keep that in mind. It's just a couple of weeks off. If you like to vote by mail, and we do have some of those because the state considers this a brand new election cycle, everybody's vote by mail applications are null and void. And I checked with them the other day, and they said the voter has to have requested a vote by mail at 7 p.m. or later on November the 5th, election night. So anybody that has put in an application, you're good for this coming election. And oh, by the way, you're good for next year's governor's race and other races that we'll have. But if you haven't done that yet and you expect to vote by mail, please call us and let us know so we can put you on the list. The deadline for us to receive your application is the 16th, so a week from today. You can still come down to the office and vote over the counter. That is considered vote by mail. You can do that, but if you want it a true vote by mail, we've got to have your application by next Thursday, a week from today. So we want to try to make sure. The one good thing about it is, most of you know, we had the PPP in March, and it was strictly for the Republican Party because the Democrats didn't have one. And so, but we had a 22% turnout, and yet that was better than a lot of Northeast Florida counties. The good thing about this race is there are 3 Republican candidates, and there was 3 Democratic candidates. Now there's 2. Just to show you, even the state makes mistakes. They do all the qualifying anytime it's more than 1 county. And so they qualified a lady. I found out that she was a female because she wouldn't put on her application male or female, and the name you just couldn't tell. But anyway, she was from Volusia County. And my colleague down there started looking, and they said, you know what, we believe this woman is not registered Democrat. And so they went back and looked and said, sure enough, October 31st, so just a couple of months ago, she switched from the Democratic Party to NPA. Well, the state says each party has the right to make their rules, and you have got to be a member of the party that you're running for a whole year. So they realized their mistake. They had already put her on the ballot. We've already printed ballots, but they went to her and she decided to drop out, mainly because I think they were getting ready to hit her with a criminal offense, because that is a misdemeanor. So anyway, so they have 2 candidates and the Republican Party has 3. So the 2 winners of those will go to, and I thought it was ironic that the governor picked April 1st to have the general election. But anyway, so those 2 winners, along with, there's a Libertarian candidate, there is also an NPA candidate, and then there's also a write-in candidate. So you'll see that blank line that somebody can write that person's name. So we will do this all again in April to see who. And of course, we all know as Republicans, the margin in Washington in the House of Representatives is very, very small. I think it's 3 or 4 seats. And with the Gates seat and with Walt's seat, there's 2 less seats. So they are really worried, and they wanted the governor to really speed this up so they can get the replacements up there to make sure that they're in control. So that's why it's going to be really quick. I don't know if you've seen it, but I saw a couple of signs go up just this past weekend from the Democratic candidate. I haven't seen anything. I've gotten some ads for Republicans, but I haven't seen anything. So anyway, my last thing to you is this. Please remember, every one of us are eligible to vote, and every one of the Democratic Party is eligible to vote. I have already spoke to that group, and they have said, you know what, we're going to try to have a really good turnout, type deal. I didn't want to tell them that I don't think they're going to win, but we need all of us, all of your friends, your family. I'm going to close with this, and I did this the other day. You and I have this blessing and a privilege because of who we honored a few minutes ago when we asked our veterans to raise their hand. It's because of them from all these years that you and I can come and not have to worry about somebody putting a gun to our head or something worse, okay? And you know what? They didn't want, some of them I'm sure, to storm those beaches with those bullets flying or drop behind enemy lines in parachutes and all. They did it because they cared about our country. And so I ask you, you know what? You may wake up that day and have a headache, but please go vote. Remember what they have done for us and make this count. The state average for a special election is 10%. Okay? So let's see if we can at least get 25 or 30%. And if we all as a party do that, then we'll be there. And if the other party joins us a little bit and gets their people out, then we can at least be respectful. But I plead with you, when you think about it, when we have that opportunity, let's make sure we do it in honor or in memory of a veteran. Thank you.
So is everyone ready to go to the polls? Do you know who the candidates are? No. So I think what we're going to do is, this has come around really quickly. If you go to Charles's website, I'm sure Charles has the information out there on his website. One of the Republican candidates has been endorsed by Donald Trump. That candidate is Randy Fine. But you can go out and look at more information on Charles' site. I think what we can do, Bob and David, is maybe we should put out a special notice or a newsletter just talking about this race, because we have, 6,000 or so people on our email list. But we will put together a special email. We will have the candidate information, we'll have the dates, and then we'll have a hyperlink that you can go to and read more about those candidates. Because it's just happening so quickly. Not a lot of us have had time to especially at the holidays, and flu season. So I think we're all sort of behind. But yeah, we don't want to miss the opportunity to put another Republican back in that seat, heaven forbid. So let's make sure that we do that. So we will work on getting something out to all of you. So the last thing on my list for tonight is just to give you information on the upcoming events, and I'm not gonna, we don't have anything planned event-wise for the next month, but we do have a board meeting coming up February the 6th, and a monthly meeting, our next monthly meeting is February the 13th back here in this building, and I believe, Buddy, our speaker is? Dr. Rick Cerency is going to be our guest speaker.
Basically, fill us in on things that have happened in the past that's going on with the new buildings and the changes in some of the Florida laws that affect us.
Perfect. So we want to be here to ask any questions that we might have of him. So I think that does our agenda for tonight. If there's any questions, we'd be glad to stay afterwards and have any information or give you information we have. Thank you, Julianne, for being here again. I think this is your third or fourth year with us. It's sort of become a tradition to have you here in January. Well, we so appreciate your being here and sharing with us. And Charles, I think we also have another election coming up. Don't we have an election in March we lack a mayor? And town council, so we've got just in that area. So that's another. Is that the only other election in this county this year or right now? Okay. So thank you, everyone. If you don't have your 50-50 tickets, you might be out of luck. Barb, are we ready? So we're going to go ahead and close out our meeting. Thank you all for being here. Certainly appreciate it. And then we will have our raffle. It looks like Rusty is wanting to buy a ticket, Barb.